Good morning friends, this is T. Ramakrishna, lecturer in English, Dr. V.S. Krishna College. This class is from our media center. You know, this media center facilitates us to engage more classes like this. Today my class is Farse, Comedy of Manners and Satire. As you know, tragedy and comedy are like light and shade. They follow each other. As Horace Walpole said, in this world, for those people who think about life, that is comedy, who feel, that is tragedy. So, you cannot separate comedy and tragedy into watertight compartments. So, since the inception of drama or play, comedy and tragedy went side by side. What happened to comedy during 1646 to 1666, that is Puritan interregnum, that we will discuss in this class. And before that, let us take a brief note of evolution of comedy in English. As you know, English comedy was influenced by Greek and Roman comedians like Aristophanes and Horace Walpole. You know, Ben Jonson was the father of English comedy. His great dramas like Everybody in His Humour, Walpole, Alchemist are all-time classics. You know, Shakespeare also wrote wonderful comedies like As You Like It, Midsummer's Night Dream, The Tempest. So, what is the main difference or major difference between comedy and tragedy? Comedy ends in happy note as far as Elizabethan stage is concerned. So, Elizabethan stage was a mammoth stage. It found full expression of human genius during Elizabethan stage. We have wonderful dramatists like William Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe. So, human expression found its complete creativeness. But during Puritan age, theatres were closed. Theatre is the chief mode of entertainment for public those days. From 1646 and 1660, theatres were closed. So, creativity curbed. So, people felt very bad. After Charles II came to power, theatres again opened. With that, Restoration comedy appeared on the stage of English literature. So, before this, let us talk about this in detail. Farse, comedy of manners and satire are distinct genres of comedy that offer different perspectives on society and human behavior. Each genre employs unique techniques to evoke laughter and social commentary. What does it mean? These are three techniques in comedy, or three techniques to educate human beings. You know, directly and indirectly, every society is get carried away with some kind of weakness. For example, you take Victorian period. Victorian morality is a thing that was discussed during 20th century and 21st century. For that age, that is all right, but Victorian morality was pinpointed by later literary critics. In the same manner, farce, comedy of manners, satire and distinct genres of comedy that offer different perspectives on society. For example, manners of people, their dress code, their behavior, their social standing, everything will be attacked. So, for comedy, verbal attack or verbal dialogue or dialogue with repartee or quick wit is needed. We can have wonderful works, for example, Pope's The Rape of the Lock, R.B. Sheridan's The Rivals, Goldsmith's She Stoops to Conquer, or magnum opus work in 20th century, being for example, take another one, Farse. Farse is a broad comedy characterized by exaggerated situations, mistaken identities and physical humor. It often relies on slapstick and absurd plot devices to elicit laughter. Evoking laughter is the main idea or the main motive behind writing these things. You know, for farce you have importance of being earnest is a wonderful drama. So, that is a classical example for farce. Comedy of manners. Comedy of manners satirizes the mannerisms and affectations of a particular social class or culture. It often features witty dialogue and clever social commentary. William Congreve's They Have the Way of the World is a best example and a classical example for comedy of manners. And next, satire. Satire uses irony, exaggeration and ridicule to expose and criticize the flaws and shortcomings of individuals, situations or society as a whole. You know, satire is a weapon in the hands of poets like Alexander Pope and Sheridan. They wanted to teach society and they wanted to set the moral plane right. They wanted to teach their rivals a lesson and they wanted to educate society. The restoration of comedy and its historical context. You need to understand why suddenly restoration of comedy appeared on the literary horizon. The restoration period in England spanning from 1660 to 1688. For example, after theatres were closed between 1646 to 1660 during Puritan interregnum, witnessed a dramatic revival of theatre after Puritan interregnum. The closing of theatres during Commonwealth era led to suppression of dramatic arts with restoration of monarchy under Charles II. You know, people's aspirations, people's basic instincts were curbed and suppressed. That is why they found a vent to express their emotions, that is restoration of comedy. Culture experienced a rebirth marked by a shift in societal values and artistic expressions. For example, creativity has taken a beating or dent on the creativity, because instead of expressing their best creative faculties, they focused on other things like wit, women, marriage, aristocratic class and seduction of women. That is a different thing. So, English Civil War, restoration of Charles II, social and cultural changes. Next, key characteristics of restoration of comedy. Focus on wit and word play. So, everything is superficial. They did not go deep into human psychology. Theirs is situated in coffee clubs, London, small parks and in the drawing rooms of the urban society. They never bothered about the problems of human beings, other things. They only focused on marriage, social standing, relationship between man and women. Okay. Restoration comedy heavily relied on witty dialogue and clever word play, repartee between protagonist and heroine, repartee between protagonist and villain. So, repartee. Drive plot and entertain the audience. The characters often engaged in verbal sparring using puns, double entendres and sophisticated repartee. So, this is a verbal jargon. Social satire and critique. These plays often satirized satirized the social norms, morals, foibles of the English aristocracy and upper class. This comedy of manners concerned only about aristocracy or upper class. This did not percolate into the down strata or the lower strata of the society. Next, intrigue and social themes. The plots of Restoration comedy frequently involved intricate love affairs, schemes, illicit relationships. This is one of the, black spots in the history of English literature. So, they always focused on these things, illicit relations, and the themes were often treated with a humorous, cynical tone reflecting permissive atmosphere of the time. They took advantage of the times in which this literature was produced. Next, fast-paced and farcial elements. These plays were known for their fast-paced action, quick wit, often farcial situations. The characters often found themselves in comical predicaments. For example, you take the way of the world. So, in that William Congreve created such a plot that all these characteristics will be noticed or would be noticed in the play. The role of wit and wordplay, sharp dialogue. Restoration comedy is characterized by sharp dialogue. The dialogues are very sharp, razor words on razor's edge, words with razor's edge. Restoration comedies rely heavily on witty repartee, quick retorts and puns. So, in the jungle of puns, you will be left behind the core of the thought. The characters' cleverness and social maneuvering are often displayed through their verbal exchanges. So, always about love, always about women, always about incestuous relationships. So, they employed or they used creativity to excite pun and to create situations like this. Social commentary. Wordplay can be used to expose the hypocrisy, folly and absurdity of societal norms. So, these plays indirectly exposed the hypocrisy in the society, in coffee clubs, in upper class society, how women and men wanted extramarital relations. So, the clever use of language can subtly critique the behavior and attitude of the upper class. So, at times this comedy of manners confined only to upper class. Humorous situations. Wordplay often fuels the comic situation in these plays. So, words played a major role, pun, irony, repartee played a major role. So, the clever misunderstandings, witty insults, double entries create humorous and often scandalous moments. Social satire in Restoration comedy, aristocratic excess. You know, people with aristocratic background, they are the only characters and their world is only displayed. So, this comedy of manners by and large society belonged to, so it is portrayed the aristocratic bound or urban related genre. Restoration comedies often mocked the extravagant lifestyles and frivolous pursuits of the upper class. Upper class did not contribute to the growth of London or the growth of society. They only spend in cigars and they whiled away time in coffee clubs. That was indirectly and cleverly and dexterously displayed through these plays. And hypocrisy and deception. Playwrights satirized the double standards and moral hypocrisy. So, they say one thing and they practice one thing. So, double standards of the upper class society were cleverly exposed, prevalent in society, particularly among the elite section of the London during 18th century and later 17th century were cleverly exposed. Social conventions. Restoration comedies lampooned the rigid social conventions and expectations that governed the behavior. You know, during 1646 and 1660, Puritan government curbed the basic instincts of human beings. That is why when the lid is open, people found a fresh air and they started misusing the freedom that is portrayed in this place. Urban life. Playwrights satirized the bustling and often chaotic nature of London urban life, highlighting the vices and follies. You know, people from countryside flocked to London. They flocked around, they whiled away time around coffee clubs, libraries and drawing rooms and in the parks. So, urban life was put to sword during, comedy of manners. Notable playwrights and their works. Comedy of manners is full of creative genius like William Wycherley. Wycherley is known for his witty, cynical plays, The Country Wife, which satirizes the hypocrisy and sexual mores of Restoration era. Another one is John Vanbrugh. Vanbrugh wrote comedies that were known for their bawdy humour and sharp wit, such as Provoked Wife in 1697, which explores themes of marriage, infidelity and revenge. So, this is a common theme among all the comedy of manners playwrights. George Etheridge. George Etheridge's comedies are noted for their sophisticated dialogue, portrayal of high society with works like The Man of Maud, focusing on fashion, intrigue and pursuit of pleasure. So, everything is superficial, nothing percolate to the core of the heart. William Congreve, he is a master technician. William Congreve considered the most talented Restoration playwright. His masterpiece, The Way of the World, in 1700, is celebrated for its witty repartee, intricate plot and insightful characterization. So, this is a magnum opus, and if you go through this, you will understand the entire gambit of Restoration comedy. The legacy of Restoration comedy. We need to now understand this genre, is it still related to the society in which now we are living? Yes, it is. In our society also, there are different strata of society, elite, upper class, aristocrat, because aristocrat people transcend all these things. They never follow morals, they only preach. Restoration comedy continues to influence the modern comedy and theatre. So, it is not existed in the same form in which it was introduced, but it existed in different forms. Its theme of wit, satire and social commentary resonate with audience today. Even in our movies, in our plays, even our cartoons, you find these this resonance of comedy of manners, because you know, whenever a society crosses the border, comedy of manners puts checks and balance on the human weakness, foibles and behavior. The style of Restoration comedy is still imitated in contemporary works. Modern playwrights often use the same devices of wordplay, witty dialogue. Restoration comedy also remains a source of inspiration for film, television and literature. So, the genres are different. Now, we have television films, television films and other forms of entertainment. So, comedy of manners started sneaking into that, and you know, people started adopting comedy of manners into their creative works. The enduring influence of farce, comedy of manners and satire. Endurance of comedy, you know, if continually one man lives in tragedy, one cannot be, because you know, as our Johnson told, that is why Shakespeare mixed that comedy and tragedy, because human life is mixture of tragedy and comedy. As Hardy said, life is an large drama, human drama, where you find small consolation in one episode. Farce, comedy of manners and satire continue to resonate in modern entertainment. These genres have inspired countless adaptations from television, sitcoms and contemporary plays. You find cartoon. What is cartoon? Cartoon exposes the hypocrisy in mankind. Cartoon is smallest form of satire. It attacks the man in different way. The exploration of social norms, witty dialogue and humorous situations remain relevant, reflecting ever-changing dynamics of human behavior. For example, a man with rigid manners, a man with a different kind of speech, a man who is always serious, a man who preaches one and practices one. These things are expressed in different genres in modern era. Farse. Farse is a genre of comedy known for its exaggerated humor, improbable situation and slapstick comedy. You see that you see in the pictures of Charlie Chaplin, Laurel Hardy, you find that slapstick comedy. You know, they wanted to entertain audience with different kinds of modes of comedy, and farce is one of the best modes of comedy. Physical comedy, it often involves mistaken identities, chaotic changes, you know, children and some section of the society immensely like. That's why children glued to comic network. Chaotic situations, outlandish characters. Farce relies on absurdity and rapid fire dialogue to create a fast paced and hilarious experience. People laugh and laugh and laugh, and they're tired of laughing because you find now the stand up comedies. So comedy is always part of human being, part of human culture, part of our society. If people forget laughing, I think their days are numbered on this planet. Restoration comedies frequently employed elements of farce, amplifying the comedic effect of their witty social commentary. So, a society which laughs find these genres entertaining, because this is the only way to point our mistakes, to point the foibles in a very different manner, in a smooth manner. Often heightened the absurdity of characters' actions and the situations they found themselves in, adding to the overall comic effect. So, farce is a slapstick comedy. Satire. Satire is a powerful tool used to expose, critique societal flaws, hypocrisy and foolishness. Satire is almost all like a cleanser. It cleans the society. It sets the tone for right things. It indirectly suggests you are going in a wrong way. It employs humor, irony and exaggeration to provoke thought and inspire change. Indirectly, comedy helps the society to think about its flaws. It gives a warning to human beings. Restoration comedy often employed satire to lampoon the social norms, political landscape and personal foibles of the time. For example, you take a political situation, only cartoons of R.K. Lakshman, cartoons of Sudhir Thalang or cartoons of our Sridhar, they find right expression, because many people scared or afraid to criticize the present government or the government that existed on that day. But these cartoonists fearlessly portray and simply point out the point that common man is suffering. That is why satire is one of the strong weapons in the hands of common man. So, societal norms, political landscape and personal foibles of the time, by ridiculing the absurdity of human behavior and societal situations, Restoration playwrights aimed to spark reflections and encourage reform. They allow society to reflect. They warn society that it is going towards danger levels. That is why satire is needed and required. As I already told, society which laughs at itself is a great society. Society which do not allow others to portray them in a comic manner, something wrong with that society. For example, Alexander Pope employed hero couplet. Of course, satire, the portrayal of society, satire also should have its own limitations. Next, examples for farce. The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde is classical example for farce. That's a great drama. So, this is a farce. Mistaken identities, absurd situations and rapid fire witty dialogue, which is the outcome of this farce. Next, the fast paced slapstick comedy, The Noises of Michael Frayn, is a quintessential modern farce, showcasing the chaos and hilarity of the theatre production gone awry. So, this theatre production sets the tone. The farce is this one. The importance of being earnest is the best example. Satire in restoration comedy such as William Congreve's The Way of the World used exaggerated characters and situations to critique the hypocrisy and foibles of high society. As we mentioned earlier, The Way of the World by William Congreve is a high watermark in 18th century literature. Next, the enduring influence of farce, comedy of manners and satire. My dear friends, we need to understand that comedy should live forever in our literature, in our genre, in all kinds of creative tools, in fact in our lives, because it makes you realize that you are also a human being. You can think so. Laughter is the best medicine. You know, people who can laugh, people who can laugh at themselves are great people. Okay. Farce, comedy of manners and satire continue to captivate modern audiences, inspiring adaptations that reflect ever evolving dynamics of human behavior. For example, 200 years ago, relationship between wife and husband was different. Now, wife and husband behave like friends. In those days, wife used to respect, her husband. So, dynamics have been changed. That is reflected in the society. Ever evolving dynamics of human behavior and social structure. These genres' timeless appeal lies in their ability to entertain while promoting deep contemplation. These genres allow humans to contemplate deeply. What do they do? Though outwardly they appear, we are going to, they are about witty dialogues, repartee, but inside they allow us for deep contemplation. That is why the enduring influence of farce, comedy of manners in society will be there on the society forever. So though these two genres, they are interchangeable, but their ultimate function is to make society realize its flaws and correct them. Next, with this I conclude my lesson, and I thank our media center, our principal sir, our Samuel sir for giving this opportunity. Thank you.